Welcome everybody to another exciting episode of HomeKit Insider. You've got me, as always, Andrew O'Hara, and joining me this week, I mentioned on a previous podcast he would be coming by. It is Shane Whatley, known for his YouTube channel full of other smart home stuff. Thank you for joining me this week, man.
Hey, appreciate it, man. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to talk smart home stuff with you.
Right. I know I didn't know what this week was going to look like, or every week is a surprise in terms of what we had news wise. But this episode, it filled out pretty darn well. And we have some really good topics to chat about today. So let's go ahead. Let's start off with Sonos. So Sonos had its earnings call this week. And during that earnings call, their CEO reaffirmed their commitment to getting their app issues cleared up, to putting all of their work into making sure the app is as good as possible. They say they want everyone raving about Sonos again. And because of that, he said there was two major products that they expected to release in Q4 that they're not going to release, which is kind of huge to me. The fact that they're going to be delaying two major flagship products ahead of a holiday. Like that's substantial.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But it is nice to see that they're trying to get the app right. I've seen so many apps and, on the software side, that just products seem to come out before they're really ready, as I'm sure you've seen too, which I guess is what happened with a recent product here from them. I actually don't use any Sonos stuff, so I can't speak. I know they're really popular with the HomeKit community, it seems like. But good to see that they're going to get their software correct.
I mean, I think that's a huge commitment right there. To delay flagships before a holiday push is no small thing. Like, that's going to be reflected in numbers. They're delaying revenues and everything, all for this commitment for amazing software. I know they let a lot of people down with that. Personally, I never had these problems, but I never used the Sonos app. I just use everything through, AirPlay to cast to my Sonos speakers. I mean, I love their portable ones, the Move 2, the Roam. I bring them with me and cast using AirPlay or, Apple Assistant. And then I have the sound bars, which again, they just go through Apple TV. I don't have to do anything special there either through the Sonos app. So I've never had a lot of these issues, a lot of the accessibility things I've never had to, worry about myself, but we have heard the feedback. I've seen it on the videos on Twitter and everything. So this has been a long time coming. They did just add, we didn't even have this in the notes, but minor thing, the Sonos Ace, they did update that and the sound bars. So now that TV swap functionality works with the Arc, the Ray, and the Beam Gen 1 and Gen 2. So I guess that is a small new feature that launched ahead of their earnings. So finishing up on Sonos, I think the two products that we're going to miss out on until early next year is the Arc 2 and their purported streaming box, which is becoming a crowded market, as we'll get to in the latter half of this show. But I think those are the two products that are going to get delayed because of this. So we'll see what happens. Well, next up in the news, we have Govee. Govee has released a new multicolor Matter lamp. This thing looks interesting, right? I mean, it looks like it's coming here first to the UK and Europe before the US, but it's colorful. It goes to their app and it works through Matter. What do you think of this thing?
I really like the look of it. I had not seen this before I got your notes, so I'm excited about this one. Govee's really been doing big things in the past year with Matter. I mean, all their stuff is Matter over Wi-Fi, but I'm okay with that for the most part, and I'm just excited to see all the products that they're pushing out. I really like the look of this. It has kind of like a glass, almost looks like a glass.
It's like a cloche, like you'd cover if you were a giant beast type creature and you were covering a rose. It looks like that is what you would cover it with.
Absolutely.
I can't quite make it out from those press pictures on like the Amazon listing, but it looks like in that one, they drew a picture of like a heart in the Govee app. And then is that like floating in the middle of the, like you can make shapes, but they're not like sharp. It's not like an actual like display. It's like a fuzzy heart in the middle. I can't quite tell what's going on.
I don't see the heart one, but I actually see one where they drew a flower. So
Okay.
there's your rose, I guess.
Ah,
Yeah,
perfect.
it's you can kind of make it out, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. That should be interesting.
Yeah. Well, that is available at least for those in UK and Europe, and it's not a bad price either. It's like under $60 for a little lamp like that. So at least something
Hmm.
new coming out. Very new. I have not really seen much like that at all. Definitely a new form factor.
Yep.
Okay, this was a last minute addition. As we were setting up, there was actually a new story that came out that ADT had a security breach. So it seems like hackers have stolen some data from ADT, including emails, phone numbers, and postal addresses. There was a forum claiming, or someone selling on some sort of cybercrime forum, where they had 30,000 ADT customers' personal information. ADT does say that no security systems had been compromised, so they were not able to like turn off your security system or access cameras, anything like that. Basically, just your information that you use when like creating your accounts. In a statement, they say our customers' privacy and security is our utmost priority, and we have taken several steps to help keep their information safe, including immediately activating rigorous cybersecurity protocols. I don't know. These are always the concerns with third party systems like this. It's always whatever it is, your utility company, your phone company, cable company. It's always going to be something.
Yep. It happens all the time, it seems like.
Yeah, it's like every other day somebody's offering me, "Hey, do you want 5 more years of cybersecurity protection because we let your information out?" It's like I feel like everyone in the U.S. should be covered for life with some
Yeah,
sort of like
we're covered.
free.
That's right.
Yeah. I had the one for the longest time when it happened to Sony on the PlayStation. They'd offered you like free credit monitoring and identity protection for 5-10 years or something crazy. But now it literally happens so often. I feel like the offers are coming down. Like you're only getting like a year of cyber protection for when they leak off your information. But they
Yeah.
should just stack. Just use them all,
Yeah.
right after each other.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's unfortunate.
We've got another new product that both of us actually have had at least some opportunity to try. I'm excited about this, especially after on last week's episode, I talked about the Maris presence sensor. We have a new one from one of our favorite companies, which is Aqara. This is the FP1E presence sensor. It's got a 6-meter range. It does require a Aqara hub. It's Zigbee. So Zigbee to an Aqara hub. You can then add it to Apple Home via Matter. Honestly, my biggest complaint about this thing is it's freaking USB-A. Like, get out of here with that. And it's like hardwired in. Like, stop. I don't
Yeah.
stop it. It's got AI built in that's supposed to help optimize the motion sensing. And it's $50, which is $20 to $30 less than the FP2, which is the more expensive Aqara presence sensor. I don't know if you know this or not, Shane. I think this launched like in China first before coming to the US market. So I don't think this is so this has been around a little while, just not for US users. But hey,
Yeah.
it's out now. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I am excited about it. I'm happy about it. Somebody actually asked me. I did a live stream yesterday as we're recording this, and somebody asked me about this compared to that Chinese version, and I think it is, like you said, just the international version of that. I actually used that one a while back, ordered off of AliExpress or something like that before they had the FP2 available here. And I like it. I'm a fan. I like the FP2 as well. I know some people have complained of just issues with ghosting and different things. It's pretty tedious to set up. I haven't had issues with it personally, but I'm really excited about this one just because it's just a simpler version of the FP2, I think. So a lot of times you don't need, zones or sleep monitoring and, all the crazy stuff that the FP2 can do. You just want a good occupancy sensor. And, this delivers at a cheaper price. If you already have an Aqara hub, I think it's kind of a no-brainer as long as you have somewhere to plug it in.
Right, if you still have a legacy USB-A port around somewhere.
Yeah, you make a good point there about that.
it just drives me crazy, especially like I very much think you should be able to buy products and have them last a long time. And especially with HomeKit, we're seeing companies that go under and products still continue to live on. I still have that D-Link Omna camera that launched like almost 10 years ago or something.
Oh yeah.
And it still works. So like I love that longevity with HomeKit. And then you have something like this that's coming out with USB-A. I don't want USB-A. I had moved basically everything over to USB-C. And I wanted to put this in my kitchen. I do have it in my kitchen. And it was actually a very big struggle to find a way to power this thing because all I have are USB-C ports. And I think I'm going to have to get a USB-C adapter to connect to this thing to be able to properly power it. And I just hate for you're buying a new product in 2024. We shouldn't have last gen ports on it, especially this thing should theoretically last for many, many years. So it is definitely a pet peeve of mine. But
yeah,
I
feel your pain. I think you are a bit of ahead of the curve still compared to many people. I still have a bunch of the old. I still have a bunch of the old USB-A little. I've got a drawer full of them, but there's less and less of them. I've noticed. I still seem to. I don't know. There's still a lot of products that ship with those, but I wish it was interchangeable. I see a lot of the USB-C to USB-A cords shipping with a lot of these little smart home products, but this one's not interchangeable, so that does kind of suck.
Yeah, if they made it swappable, I'm fine if you want to ship a USB-A in the box because I can just toss it and swap it for something newer and you're fine. But like in my kitchen, like I don't want to have like a whole dedicated, USB power brick in the wall. Like that's my thing is I'm not going to have one power brick that powers one device. I want to be able to feed my wire to a central spot and be able to have multiple things fed off of, one brick or whatever. So I do have, where I have this in my kitchen, I have a little mini surge protector coming out that has like 3 USB-C ports on it, as well as 3 outlets. And I have a air purifier connected. I've got a MagSafe 3-in-1 charger that is connected, and it's a good little setup, and I don't have any USB-A. So I'm like, I have to either have a whole dedicated plug just for this thing, use up a whole AC outlet, or get a USB-C adapter. But I did end up connecting it to the new GE under cabinet lights. I'm still working on finalizing my setup here, but it's working really well. So every time I walk into the kitchen, I turn on all the cabinet lights. As soon as presence or occupancy is not detected, all those lights shut off. And then I have it set for different times throughout the day. Right now, simple because I wasn't going to get too crazy, but I just have during the day come on at like 70% brightness and white. And then at night, have them come on to like 30% brightness and a warmer hue. But they work really well. Like it is a fast trigger, and all of those things are Matter too, which I think is also important. Like this is a hub. This is going to a hub, then it's going to home via Matter, talking to Matter enabled lights, like a group, because I've got like 6 or 7 of those GE lights. Yeah. So all of those are individual. So it's like, it's a good chunk of things happening, and it is very, very quick. So I've been pretty happy with this thing so far.
Nice. I might move mine to the kitchen too. I like that idea. Or I don't know, either here at the desk or at my kitchen. I hesitate with those kitchen automations because they never seem to be just right for my wife, and she gets so frustrated when the motion-based stuff doesn't work well. So I have not done any automations in the kitchen for quite a while.
Well, I think I do have my main lights on regular switches, but I will say the only downside to it, and this is with Apple Home and their way they set things up, is there's no, I don't even know how you describe it, like a delay in after the motion is detected. Because sometimes like I'll walk, like literally I walk out of the kitchen into the bathroom to grab like a tissue, and I come back and the lights go off and then come right back on again. I'm like, I wish there was like, a 30-second or a minute or a couple minute delay when it stops detecting motion, then turns them off before just doing that. But it's like, it's quick. It's like as soon as you leave that kitchen, boom, shut them off, come back in on again.
Have you ever done like the convert to shortcut and then do a little bit of scripting in there? I've kind of played around with that some with my presence sensors. Like when it stops detecting motion, wait 30 seconds maybe, then check for motion again, and kind of you can do a loop and have it check for a while to make sure there's no motion for a while. I've done that before. I did that with the FP2 and that seemed to work pretty well for me.
Okay. No, I've definitely tried it, but not for the motion sensors like that. So that's definitely worth trying. So maybe I will go revalue, because I didn't even get into the, like, I literally just chose the default during day and during night as my timing options, because I would like to do it more granular, like maybe like after 5 or something, it goes down to like a 50%. But if it's after like midnight, come on at like 10%. That way, and like if you're coming into the kitchen to get a glass of water in the middle of the night, you're not going to get blinded even by like a 40% brightness or something. So I do want to get a little more granular there in the timing. I think Hue did that so well, which is what I used before. And it was just perfect. Like the Hue motion sensor and Hue light strips mounted on the cabinets was flawless. The way that they implemented all of that within the Hue app, but it was all done with Hue, not with HomeKit.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I've got those GE under cabinet lights also, and I really like them, but they are super bright. I've put mine into, I've started dabbling with Home Assistant a little bit, so I put mine in there, and there's an adaptive lighting add-on or something that works pretty well, and you can kind of fine tune some of that stuff. So I've been playing around with that, and it dims them pretty well at night, so they're not super bright.
nice. Well, I definitely need to tweak them more. And what I ran into is, this is not a review of the GE stuff, guys. We'll come back to that in a future episode. But what I found out was I have like a corner situation. So I ran all of the light bars, and then I put the round puck ones in the corner. But the round puck ones I don't think are color tunable, or at least they didn't seem to be changing for whatever reason when everything else did. Maybe they are. So that's why I'm saying no one quote me on these things. You know, I don't want to get 800 emails saying I'm wrong about that. But I've been noticing in the evenings, I come into the kitchen, everything changes to warm hue, and then all the puck lights are specifically bright, cool white. Like they're changing the brightness, but not the color. I'm like, why are you guys screwing with me? Well, I want to get into all of this. Real quick, I do want to compare the FP1E to that Maris one, because I think I am torn here, and I know you've got opinions on this too. If you already have Aqara stuff, I think the FP1E is a no-brainer, because it connects to their hub and it works really well. Like you said, it's just plug and play. Plug it in, detect and not detect. It can be that simple. But Maris also came out with that one like last week that requires no hub and has 3 different sensors. It's like PIR, millimeter wave, and a light sensor in there. It has wall mounting stuff in the box. I think it might have even been cheaper. And I'm very torn on, recommending one necessarily over the other. And my only hesitancy is that Aqara has always been so solid for me. Their stuff is pretty affordable for the most part. And even though it requires a hub, if I already have the Aqara stuff, I feel like that's the way to go. What do you think between this and the Maris one?
Yeah, I agree. I've been a big fan of the Aqara stuff for a long time. Their products work so well, especially their Zigbee based products. All the sensors, they've been really super reliable. Maris, on the other hand, has been hit or miss at best for me in terms of just reliability. So their sensor, I'm pretty sure this is going to be Matter over Wi-Fi for that one. So all the products that I've used from Maris have been Wi-Fi as well. So like I said, kind of hit or miss in terms of reliability. It has a few more features, it looks like. I think this one has a light sensor, whereas the FP1E doesn't have the light sensor. So, it may depend. If you're on a budget, you might go for that one. But like you say, if you already have Aqara stuff, or an Aqara bridge, I should say, I would probably go that route, just because, they've got the proven track record there, and it's a Zigbee based product. For anything like a occupancy sensor, motion sensors, in my experience, Zigbee has been super reliable. So I would probably lean that way.
I do think that the Maris one is so bulky. Like it looks huge to me in the pictures, and it's kind of ugly in a way. The Aqara one has a really nice little base on it. It's super compact. They even have a little mounting base, so you can basically screw it into a cabinet or into the wall, then just snap this thing to it, and it like rotates around 100 or 360 degrees and comes out, twists. Like, it's very articulated to get exactly where you need it to be to detect occupancy correctly. So I do like that. I like the design better on the Aqara one, but it's just hard to beat that price sometimes. I'm just kind of happy that we're seeing presence sensors, frankly, over motion sensors. Like, we've had motion sensors for how long? And I'm really hoping we see one from Eve. Like, come on, Eve, what is happening? You have like a 50 some dollar, right? I don't know what their motion sensor actually retails for, but it's like at least $50.
Yeah, I'm not sure what theirs is. It's pretty pricey.
I mean,
don't know.
I would pay 50 to 80 for an Eve branded presence sensor. I would 100% would move any of my motion sensors to presence sensors in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I agree. My only problem with presence sensors over the motion sensors is they're all hardwired, so you have to have them plugged in all the time. So that makes it a little bit more limiting in terms of placement over, the battery motion sensors, as you can literally just stick anywhere. But yeah, aside from that, I'm with you. The occupancy sensors are awesome.
That is true. Maybe that's why Eve has taken their time in getting us one. I do much prefer the battery powered ones that can just go anywhere. I hate having to run an additional wire. But I don't know about you. Do you have like smart home revamp days where you go and replace 50 batteries and all of your sensors that had been like collecting? It's like, time to change the Eve degree and this sensor over here and charge these 3 ones. Like, I kind of like have like a half a day where I just go through and swap all the batteries and charge everything because it gets kind of ridiculous.
No, I probably should be smarter and do it that way. I usually just wait until stuff is not working. And then I start cussing about my smart home not cooperating. And then I realize I need to change batteries.
We should be all using that Home Batteries app that gives us a lovely little widget when we're too busy to realize that half the stuff stopped working until you need it to work.
Yep, that's right. That's a good one.
Okay, let's get into the Google stuff, but before we do, let's take a break and thank our sponsor for the episode, Zocdoc. Zocdoc, I need you this week. Seriously, my whole family is ill, and it has not been fun. My throat right now is killing me, and Faith is sick, and Harrison is sick. It's probably him. He touches everything, and it all goes in his mouth. So I'm going to go ahead and blame the child on this one, but having things like Zocdoc, where you can easily find a doctor that is in your network that you can get into even the same day, is fantastic. We've used Zocdoc so many times. My wife has used it. She just goes online, makes an appointment. She got in that day. She walked into the doctor's office. The second she walked in the door, they're just like, Faith? And she's like, oh, that's me. And she was able to go straight back, while all these people who were sitting in their chairs and their couches in the waiting room just kind of glared at her. The fact that she didn't have to wait at all and just walked straight back for her appointment. I love it. Stuff like that is magical. And if you don't want to go, you don't have to, because you can even do telehealth appointments. That's amazing. Again, being able to find, like, I'm a type 1 diabetic, trying to find doctors that are within your network and take your insurance can be a big pain in the butt. So being able to find one that does that, absolutely. I have seen multiple doctors thanks to Zocdoc. So is my wife, and I guarantee we're going to be using for Harrison when we need to get him into some place too. Zocdoc is a free app and website where you can search and compare high quality in-network doctors, choose the right one for your needs, and click to instantly book an appointment. We're talking about in-network appointments with more than 100,000 healthcare providers across every specialty, from mental health to dental health, eye care to skincare, and much more. Plus, Zocdoc appointments happen fast, typically within just 24 hours to 72 hours after booking. You can even score same-day appointments. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to Zocdoc.com/HKI to find and instantly book a top-rated doctor today. That's ZocDoc.com/HKI. Zocdoc.com/HKI. Honestly, that's just fun to say. I mean, Zocdoc.com.
It is.
Zocdoc.com.
It is.
My throat is seriously just warped right now and trying to run through all these. So why don't you help me out here? Tell us a little bit about the Nest thermostat, the new Nest 4th gen learning thermostat. We talked about it on the show leading up to the Google event. Read us in, tell us what we got here.
Yeah, okay. So this is pretty exciting. I personally have not used a Nest thermostat, but I've always loved the way they look, and they announced a new one that when does let's see, it'll be $279. Has new AI features, I think, for efficiency, power savings. They say supports Matter, which is really exciting for us HomeKit users. So I am very tempted to check this one out once it's available. I think they said, was it late August it'll start shipping?
Something like that. I'm not sure on the date. You keep going. Let's see if there's a shipping date here.
Okay. Yeah, I think it's coming up. I think they're available for pre-order now. So it should be pretty soon.
August 20th.
August 20th. Okay, so yeah, right around the corner. But yeah, the thing just looks gorgeous. It looks like I think people were comparing it to, is it the Pixel Watch?
Yeah.
But just a bigger version of that. And I saw the little promo video they have, does these amazing animations when it's storming and stuff outside. So it looks really nice. I'm very tempted. It might be something that I try out. I don't know. Have you tried any of the Nest thermostats before?
I have, and people who, longtime listeners have probably heard me rant about it before. And not necessarily rant, but I had the OG Nest thermostat. I probably had like a second gen one as well. And I used those for the longest time until Apple came out with HomeKit. And then Nest was acquired by Google. And I'm like, oh no, this is never going to be a thing. Google is never going to integrate into HomeKit, and I started going down a line of testing every single HomeKit thermostat that had come to market. So I had tested the Honeywell, the iDevices, and eventually I landed on an earlier version of the Ecobee, and I loved the Ecobee so much that I have continued to stick with them, especially as they have continued to innovate with features like AirPlay 2, smart speaker functionality with Apple Assistant built in, and the ability for the doorbell to show up on the thermostat itself. None of those features are on this new Nest model. I think, to me, the biggest selling point is the learning part of it. That's what makes it like so good, because you don't have to change your thermostat. It does it for you based on how you use it. So you start adjusting it early on. It learns your patterns, it learns your habits, it learns when you're home or away. There's new second generation temperature sensors that can go in the rooms, so it can follow you around the house and just learn from you, and then start adjusting your AC and your heat for you to also help you save money. Like, that to me is very powerful. I am bummed that the little occupancy sensors don't report back to the home app, I believe. Through Matter, I don't think that they do. They also don't do, or do they do occupancy? I don't know if they even do occupancy, or if they just do temperature. They might just do temperature in the rooms and not necessarily follow you like the Ecobee does. So I think Ecobee still has a leg up on some of these, but it is hard to deny how pretty this thing looks. Like,
yeah,
it looks really cool.
It does.
Like you said,
it looks great.
Like you said about the Pixel Watch, like you can actually change the faces on it like a watch face. And there's all these different ones. They use that solely radar sensor, which is new, to detect like when you are kind of like approaching it, and it'll turn on the screen or make things bigger, like when you're near, so you can read the screen from far away. There's a lot of really cool stuff here.
Yeah. I'm thinking this would look really nice next to my wall mounted iPad. That's all I'm thinking. A little clock display. I hear you on Ecobee. I actually just covered them on my channel recently. I've been using Ecobee as well for a long time, but I don't use a lot of the features, like the follow me feature. I don't use that. It's really cool, but I don't use that feature. And I hesitate with a lot of the learning type of capabilities on these thermostats, because when you have, multiple people in the house, that's just the one thing you don't want to get wrong, is the temper, it doing something weird with the temperature, and then everybody is upset because it's too hot or it's too cold or whatever. So I hesitate with a lot of that, but I do love the room sensors, which this one can do, it looks like. So it has a lot of the stuff that I utilize from Ecobee. So I'm pretty excited about this one. I might check it out. I don't know.
The other downside for me is the door sensors from the Ecobee. That is another thing that I would be hard pressed to ditch completely, where it'll automatically pause your AC or your heat if your door is open. Because we use our
Yeah.
screen door a lot, and I'm not trying to, cool or heat the outside. Just like, hey, your door's been open for a while, you get that push notification, and then it'll go ahead and pause your current schedule. I like that a lot. So like, I think
Yeah.
Ecobee's got neat features.
I agree with that, but my only hesitation with Ecobee or complaint, maybe I should say, is that they put so much of that stuff behind the paywall. So you have to subscribe to their plans in order to utilize a lot of those features, like the feature you're talking about, which is great. If you leave the door open, it'll shut the AC off, but you have to subscribe to their plan for that, which to me is kind of a bummer. I think that's a pretty basic feature. If you're going to offer that, I think that should not be behind their little security plan. I do love the feature where the doorbell shows up on the thermostat and all that stuff, but a lot of their features are behind those, those monthly plans. And, some people don't want all that. Some people do. And you can also do similar things just through your smart home automations if you take some extra steps, but you could accomplish the same thing in HomeKit or whatever smart home ecosystem you're using, probably.
Yeah, that's true. Well, aside from the thermostat, we also had a second new Google device. They are ditching Chromecast, like going away, and instead we have the Google TV streaming box. This is also coming out, I believe, later this month. $99. So we're talking, I don't want to pay like a sticky, but we got Apple TV price points here. We got an actual Apple TV competitor that is coming out from Google. So $100 comes in like a white color or a hazel color. It has a color matched remote, which by the way, this is pretty dope. They have a dedicated Find My Remote thing. There's a dedicated button on the back of the streaming box that you press it and it'll make your remote chime. They put a speaker in the remote. What we have been asking Apple to do for the longest time, like seriously, like I just lost the Apple TV remote in my bed and I'm trying to find it amongst all of the blankets because either a dog or a child like dug through all of the blankets and it's like, yup, it's really close to you. I'm like, but where? Like, tell me where. And it's just like within a foot. I'm like, this is a pile of blankets. I can't find it. And we do have a split king bed, so it can fall in that crack too. So,
oh no, into the abyss.
I know. So I'm like, what would help this? A damn speaker on the remote to make it beep like an AirTag, and they don't have it. Now Google's got one. But I think it also works with the actual Find My, like the Google Find My devices situation. Other basic specs here, Dolby Vision and Atmos support, 32 gigs of storage, can instantly pair your Pixel Buds if you've got those, has Ethernet port on there, is a Matter hub as well as a Thread border router. I think this is very solid.
Interesting. Yeah.
I love the Apple TVs.
Yeah, it'll take a lot to pull me away from Apple TV. I've got them on every one of my TVs. But the Matter support is pretty interesting there.
They look like a very solid alternative, especially if you're in the Google space. Like, I'm not going to be able to say, oh, people should get this if they're in the Apple ecosystem, because Apple has so many tie-ons. I mean, the remote app in Control Center on your phone and handoff and AirPlay, like all of these things. There's a lot for Apple users with an Apple TV that I don't think you'll ever be able to replace with a third-party box at all easily. And I think what my problem is when I'm covering them, I don't know about you, is so many of the features are little. Like they're really hard to kind of mention, to kind of put into words as like you should buy because of this, but it's all these tiny little details that work together to make it so seamless. And then you don't have any of those with a third party one. But once you start using the Apple one, you start like your profiles are coming in or your TV app is syncing with your phone, the remote continuance there, Siri handoff, typing in passwords, it just automatically pops up on your phone to continue. And even something like that is stupidly over-engineered. Like they literally use the Bluetooth signal from the remote to know who is controlling the TV. And then that's the phone that they pop up the password prompt for. Like the amount of little things that happen in the background that it's not like a headlining feature that you can, tout, but they're there and they make that experience so much better. But this is at least a solid looking alternative.
Yeah. Yeah, that's well said. It is hard to explain a lot of those little things with the Apple TV. Isn't there supposed to be a casting feature through Matter at some point? Have you heard anything about that?
Yeah, they've definitely talked about this. I don't know if it was ever introduced in Matter 1.3 or if that's coming in like Matter 1.4. If it's coming in, a future version of Matter, we're looking at least a year, because as we see in our next topic, Matter integrations into home and other devices
Yeah.
can take a little while. So there is a Matter casting situation coming, and I don't know how that's gonna, like you were kind of saying, is it gonna? It's not gonna replace necessarily AirPlay. Will AirPlay just use Matter casting to Matter devices? That's gonna get fuzzy with naming.
Yeah, it's already confusing. And that's why I was wondering if you had heard anything about that, because you see Matter on TVs and stuff a lot now. And I think a lot of people myself included, get confused. It's like, what exactly is supported through Matter? Is it a Matter hub, or, all these different things. So,
I think in general, it's supposed to be that Matter hub. And they do have that smart home interface that kind of slides over, similar to Apple's on Apple TV. And you can control all of your Matter-enabled devices right through your Google TV, just as you could with Apple TV. I think that's what they're going for, but there's a lot of understanding issues, media literacy going on with informing customers about what Matter is supposed to do and how that it plays together. Because I agree. And then in HomeKit, like, you can turn your TV on and off, change inputs, all of those things, which is a very different thing than acting as like a Matter hub, which is what your Apple TV would do. So putting HomeKit on a TV or Apple Home on a TV means something different than putting Matter on there. Like, I assume that will be coming as well, to be able to control your TV, but it's different from a Matter hub.
Yeah. Well, good thing Matter's here to make everything simple.
So simple. Okay, one more topic here in the news. You shared this with me. I have not got to play with these before, but this is the WeLove air purifier, and it is the very first air purifier to launch with Matter. And you've been testing this out for a little while now. What do you think of it?
Yeah, actually, I've only had it set up for a few days, and I shared a little short video on it. It's interesting because I saw Matter support. I know that HomeKit supports air purifiers. So I went to add this, as the first Matter air purifier that I've ever tried out in the Apple Home app. It added successfully, let me pick the room, change the name, just like any HomeKit device. And then all of a sudden I get this prompt that says, this device is not supported by Apple Home. Or I think it said specifically, air purifiers are not supported by the Apple Home app. I was like, well, okay. So, there's that. Matter does officially support air purifiers. The Apple Home app, on the other hand, does not. And I think the other ecosystems don't either right now. So we're in this weird place where we have this Matter device that it clearly supports Matter. Matter supports air purifiers and everything, but you can't use it in your smart home ecosystem. So, we're waiting on Apple Home or whatever smart home ecosystem you might be using to catch up and support the current Matter, I guess. But this one's particularly weird because HomeKit does support air purifiers, I thought. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very weird situation. This is what we've been running into with the rollout of Matter. As Matter becomes more popular, which is great, and we're seeing that consumer-wise, product-wise, and ecosystem-wise, like, everyone's kind of in different ways getting behind Matter. But then you have something in this very weird niche situation. Apple Home supports purifiers. Cool. Matter supports purifiers. We have WeLove, which is like, we made a purifier and it's certified and works with Matter. Cool. You'd think all the boxes would be checked. Unfortunately, the missing piece is that Apple Home does not support Matter version 1.2. Air purifiers were added along with a bunch of other accessories to Matter version 1.2, but Apple has not added that support of Matter to Apple Home. So you have a device that theoretically would work just natively with HomeKit, but it's not because they went the Matter route, and now we have to wait for Apple to add Matter 1.2 support. And like Apple doesn't even like say we now support Matter 1.2 in this release. Like when we're seeing with iOS 18 this fall, where's the rest of Matter 1.2 or 3? Like they're just having, we have robot vacuum cleaners. Very good. Where's the rest? Like in this situation here, one of my things that I was going to ask you is, what are you running? Is this a test device on 18 or is this still an iOS 17 device?
Well, I tried both. Yeah, it's not supported on iOS 18 either currently on the beta that I've installed. So yeah, that's a good point. I guess I forgot about that. So was 1.2 when robot vacuums were also introduced to Matter?
I cannot remember off the top of my head. I think that is when robotic vacuum cleaners were added. But yeah, so
yeah, that makes sense.
That's why it's weird that we're not even getting full support for Matter 1.2. We're just getting one device of their list of devices, and something like an air purifier that is literally already there, they aren't having support yet, and it's so weird at how that plays out.
I hope that with iOS 18, because I also have a robot vacuum and through Matter in the Apple Home app, and that's not working either in iOS 18 in the beta that I've got. So assuming that, hopefully by the time the public release comes out, they will support, I'm hoping Matter 1.3 at least. Of course, by then we'll probably have Matter 1.4.
Right. We should have that very soon, actually. I'm pretty sure within the next month or so, we should have Matter 1.4 announced.
So it's this constant like catch up, that I guess they're going to be doing, but I don't know. What can you do? But it's unfortunate because it makes things more confusing for the consumers out there who are pretty much have been told, if you see Matter, it will just work,
Yeah.
And that is the end goal. That's the end game. But right now, it's just not the case yet.
I mean, until they figure out something, we're going to be in this perpetual cat, mouse, dog situation, because there's literally like three parties at play. Because you have the device manufacturers, you have Matter and the CSA, and then you have each individual ecosystem. So Matter creates it, which Apple is a part of. Then Apple has to add it into the Home app, and then the device manufacturers have to add it into their products. In an ideal situation, Matter would announce it, and then like the ecosystem and the products would add support at the same time, and there would be no, mismatching between the two. But here we are. We're going to be in this forever as Matter adds new features and then have to wait for them to home and wait for their products. And sometimes the ecosystem support comes first and then the products, which is kind of how it was with Matter. I feel like the Matter support came out first and we had no products. But now we have products like vacuum cleaners and purifiers and no app support yet. The only thing I will say, I think Samsung has support because Samsung added full Matter 1.2 support to SmartThings a few weeks back. So they were the first ones, and they did it so nice because they actually did say, we support all of Matter 1.2. Like we didn't pick one or two devices, we the whole thing, which was way better.
Yeah, well, maybe the other players will take note and follow suit. Speaking of Matter, maybe we can end the Matter talk on a good note. I didn't mention this before in the notes, but I just was sent, it was on Reddit, and I don't know if you're a big adaptive lighting fan. I know a lot of HomeKit users are. I don't know if you saw this, but it's been reported. I couldn't get it to work because I'm having issues with Nanoleaf, but apparently Nanoleaf in the iOS 18 beta now supports adaptive lighting through their Matter bulbs, which is pretty nice. So that's huge. Yeah, that's encouraging for anybody who's using Matter lighting products who does like adaptive lighting, like for your GE Sync lights, for example. I think right now it is just Nanoleaf. Again, this is in the in the beta, but hopefully that means we'll see this come to other, Matter products.
Yeah, I think that is really huge. I remember talking to Jimmy, the Nanoleaf CEO, about this, and I think he went off on a mini rant about like the memory requirements for things like Matter and Apple Home. And he's like, I swear we built in so much like buffer for things like adaptive lighting, and then things like Matter come out. It's like, now you don't have enough space for adding like, these extra features, and the way they all have to play together is crazy. So it was a really weird spot again, is like you could get a HomeKit version or you can get a Matter version, but the Matter version had less features because you didn't have adaptive lighting. So
Yep. And we've seen it with other lighting products like the Aqara light strip, for example. It supports adaptive lighting if you integrate it into the home app through HomeKit, but if you integrate it through Matter, you lose those features. You lose that adaptive lighting feature. So hopefully this is something we can be excited about, coming soon.
absolutely. I hope that's just going to be on like the Apple side of things if they're able to add that. Who knows if it's something they have to add. Like, I don't know if Nanoleaf added that as a beta feature for users, because they do have like beta firmwares and stuff. So we'll see. But that's honestly really reassuring. So very happy about that. Okay, we had one listener question. I want to get your takes on this too. So Anthony sent this in. So Anthony says, I've got a 10 plus year old home security system that has 4 exterior cameras plus a DVR system. I'd like to upgrade it to a HomeKit solution. They're looking ideally for 4K cameras using the existing 12-volt wires, not Ethernet, power over Ethernet, have local storage, so not cloud, and have HomeKit support. And they've done hours of research. They cannot find something that hits 4K wired and HomeKit. So do we have any product recommendations? And I want to hear if you got something different, but my first take is no, for a few different reasons. Because one, HomeKit only supports 1080p. So a lot of the cameras that are specifically HomeKit are only 1080p HD resolution, which personally, I don't think is suitable for outdoor solutions. Like, I do have a couple Arlos, like Arlo Ultras, that are doing 2K and 4K, but they are wireless, so you do have to charge batteries. Or there are solar options. You can go the solar route as well. But I do not, like, there's wired cameras, like the floodlight ones from Netatmo and Eve, but when you get into like the higher resolution ones, I'm seeing that do support HomeKit, they end up being battery powered, not powered. And not all of them have local storage. There's a new one from Baseus, which has, I think, like a 2K resolution or 4K resolution that has local storage. There's a few others, but I do not know anything that's going to hit all of those boxes. And I don't think anything will until Apple Home gets upgraded to support higher resolution cameras.
Yeah, 100%. Right now, nothing exists that I'm aware of that would hit all those boxes. If nothing else, like you said, because of the 1080p limitations right now. I do have maybe a sort of workaround solution that I can present, that it's not going to be native HomeKit support, but I can tell you what I've done that basically does check all these boxes. And I think is a pretty good solution until there is something available. I think he said he's using 12-volt wires, not PoE. So I actually had a very, very similar setup to this years ago. This is before I even got into smart home stuff. I installed these cameras using the same type of wires. And what I ended up doing once I upgraded everything is I used the existing wires to pull PoE. So first of all, you're going to have to, so I guess this doesn't maybe check all the boxes because you will need to convert over to PoE, but this is what I did. Since you already run those wires, it should be pretty easy to just pull PoE, you know what I mean? Tie them on and just pull your PoE wires for the cameras. And then what I'm using specifically is Reolink. So it's an NVR, it records locally, and it's 4K footage. All that's recording locally 4K. And then I have that ported into HomeKit through something called Scripted. And for me, that has been working really well. So your HomeKit footage and everything, your streams, everything in HomeKit will be downgraded to 1080p. But what's really cool is that this even supports HomeKit secure video. So it's actually recording in iCloud and everything as well. In addition to recording locally 24/7 on my NVR, which is recording at a higher resolution as well. So that's been a great kind of workaround for me. I know a lot of people do similar things with unified cameras. You can pick and choose different cameras to do this with, but scripted is kind of the piece that's worked really well for me. And I mean, these cameras through scripted work more reliable and faster than a lot of my native HomeKit cameras, to be honest. So that's what I've been doing. And until there's a PoE solution for HomeKit natively, which I don't think there's going to be anytime soon.
I mean, there's technically one PoE camera out there for HomeKit, which is the I can't even think of the name of them. They're the doorbells, the fancy doorbells.
Oh yeah. Oh, what is that?
Oh, I have it on my studio door. I literally installed it inside where I could run the PoE adapter and everything. And
that's the one that cost like $5,000 when it first came out.
Yeah, they literally look like they're for like the gate entrance to your home. They look very nice. They would probably go well on brick. They don't match like a commercial home and an allotment super well. Definitely not apartments or anything. But
is it Robin?
Yes, the Robin Pro line.
Is that right?
Yeah, okay, they've got the Pro line, like the Pro line Compact. So that's one. But again, 1080p, you're definitely limited to your HomeKit stuff there. And that's a doorbell, not a security camera. And still not 12-volt wires. So it doesn't really help.
Yeah. I think just if you're going to go through the trouble, and that's what I did, pulling PoE camera or pulling PoE wire through your house is just going to be a good idea to future-proof yourself. You know, you do that, then you can upgrade your cameras. PoE will work for a long time, you know. So now I can change out all my cameras if I want to. I can upgrade them and just leave those wires, put new cameras up and stuff. So it's been it was a good solution to that for me.
Nice. Well, awesome, Shane. Thank you for stopping by today. Where do you want to point people? They want to watch your stuff, find you on Twitter, anything like that. Where do you want to send everyone?
YouTube, Instagram, that's where I'm at mostly. So at Shane Creates pretty much everywhere.
Awesome. Well, thank you again. I'll put links to your stuff down there in the show notes. Thank you to everybody for listening. Do all the stuff that you guys do best. Leave this podcast 5, 10, 100-star review ratings on your podcast player of choice. Watch the video version of this, which I promise will work this week over at youtube.com/HomeKit Insider. Otherwise, we'll be back next week for the next episode. See you guys.
Awesome. Bye.